Which one of these do you want to talk about most?
I think I could use your assistance fleshing out my theory on consciousness.
Oh, okay.
It's probably not that original, but it's my rendition of thinking about it. And I want to tell my scary AI almost stole my body.
Stole your body. So, one thing I'm really hoping isn't a problem is when I was taking stuff off of my little Zoom recorder SD card a few days ago, putting it onto my computer, I had a weird problem where I was trying to eject my SD card afterwards, and every time I tried ejecting it, it was like, this SD card is still in use. You can't eject it right now. And like, I didn't want to just leave it in my computer forever, so I did the bad thing of just pulling it out without doing it properly. So, that normally doesn't have any bad consequences whenever I've done that, but I'm really, really hoping that the SD card isn't like fucked up, and then we do a whole 2-hour podcast, and then I get home and the whole thing is like corrupted or something.
No, that would be really terrible.
That would be the worst.
Do you want to record it on an alternate like voice memo as well, so you don't have to lose it, or?
I feel like the quality of that would be really bad.
This is true,
and then it would be like, okay, do you think, say that happens and this phone's corrupted, we recorded on a voice memo on one of our phones, would you think it would still be worthwhile to put that on the internet rather than just nothing?
Yeah, and we can always just like do a different one.
Yeah, or we could just do it again, and then, I don't know. See, the thing about if we had to record it, we would talk about different subjects, because it feels false and like
to
fake
redo it. Yeah.
It's like acting that the second time.
Yeah, and that's not authentic. Yeah.
I realized this about myself, at least slightly, over the past like 10 years, that I don't like retelling stories. Being a stand-up comedian seems like, obviously that's what you have to do. Like every night you're like telling the same kind of story, and you have to tell it as if it's like
the first
time.
No, my roommate talks about that because he's a stand-up comedian.
Oh, yes.
And he talks about like how like he does the same joke over and over again and gets like different reactions based on like how he lands it or like how he says it. So it's like a way to practice, but I see what you're saying. It's like not the same.
Yeah, I don't know. It's mixed for me, because that's a cool part of it too. Is like, you can do it. You can do variations of the same thing and see how that has a different effect.
But I would get bored of the same content every night. He doesn't really switch it up as much as you'd think.
How many times have you seen him?
Oh, I've only seen him like twice, but he like tells us about it retrospectively, and it's always the same jokes.
I mean, if they work.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, because it's like I used to do like drama in high school, where like you'd be performing the same play night after night, and that's kind of like you're just doing the same thing. But there too, it's like there's variations. Like the play goes differently each night, and it's also still like practice, which is kind of cool, because like, oh, that line that was supposed to be funny didn't really get much of a laugh, so I'll have to do it differently tomorrow. And then when you do it differently tomorrow, it's like, oh, it actually got a laugh that time. Like, so you're still like honing it, but
and if you mess up, you get a second chance.
Yeah. But I think there's one memory, and I've probably talked about this in one earlier episode of the podcast, so forgive me for retelling a story that I might have already told you long-time listeners. I do hate that. But I actually see the problem is I don't actually know if I've told it or not on the podcast. I can't remember, but I feel like I might have, but I'm not sure. So I'll tell it quickly anyway. But I was like doing a little like show and tell kind of thing, like teaching a French class at high school like a few years after graduating, because I like needed my French teacher's like letter of recommendation for me to do it like a France trip thing. But she was like, yeah, but when you get back, you have to like report, like you have to teach my French class with like tell them what it was like to travel to France, because she wants to encourage all of her students to do the same thing. So I came there one day and taught her French classes for that day, and I like taught them, but like
told them about your experience.
Okay. Yeah. In the first class period, it was like I was just making it up, not making it up. Like I was saying the things for the first time as they like came to my head, and it was good. It was like teaching, but it also kind of felt like the stand-up comedy thing where like the class was laughing at several points for what I was saying. So like, oh, that went really well. So then the second class, I just kind of took what I did last class and did it again. But it still got laughs and stuff, and it was the students still enjoyed it. But I felt like internally like fake, or like I'm making this seem like I just thought of this joke, but I didn't just think of this joke. Like
it felt inauthentic.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads us to one of your topics that you wrote down.
Yeah.
But before we do that, Maybe we should have a traditional opening to this podcast episode. Welcome to the Regular People Podcast. I'm Wade Allen, and today I'm joined by Emma.
What up, guys?
Yeah, you were on
a while ago.
A while ago.
It was a little while back though.
In real time, it was like a year and a half ago. It was like episode 17, I want to say. We talked about atheism. We talked about
abortion,
and we talked a little bit about fast fashion too. I think.
Yeah. So these are new topics. These are different.
Yeah, we were talking about different things this time.
Okay, I was scared I would think of repeats like by accident, but I'm really glad that I didn't. I'm glad that I've evolved in a year and a half.
Yeah, no, that's good. One of the reasons I hate telling stories at the same time that I've already told before is that part of it. Like I feel like I don't want to be the same person I was a year ago. I don't want to be thinking of the same exact things all the time. And that's also why I like to have different. It's not just a me podcast, or it's not just a me and one same person all the time podcast, because then I get new stuff on there. I'm not the one providing the new stuff usually.
You're like Joe Rogan.
Well,
I'm joking. Have you ever done a solo?
I thought of doing that a few times. Of like writing a script and doing a solo thing, because every time I think of that, I'm like, I could just make that into a YouTube video and it would get more views.
You're like separating your craft.
Yeah. Like if it's just me and I'm writing a script, then I guess it would be easier in terms of workload, because then it's like, it's only audio. I just have to edit the audio, then I'm finished with it, rather than like make video to accompany it. But
yeah,
I have thought of that. I thought of tell me, well, you'd probably be a fan of this one. I thought of doing a podcast episode that might be like 30 minutes or so of just me, and it'd be basically like an essay of like why you should go vegan. Yeah,
you should do that.
Or like, you know, the reasons why you might consider it.
Then you'd be the new Gary Yourofsky.
Yeah. Does he have a podcast?
He had a YouTube, I think.
Yeah. I saw like the greatest speech you'll ever see or whatever.
Yeah, that's what made me go vegan.
That's what
did it. Yeah.
Wow.
Only that. I didn't watch anything else.
Only that?
Yes.
Like there was one individual thing that made you do it?
It was that video. Like I was just in a YouTube hole.
It's not like accumulation of...
No.
Well, the hole, did it have other things in it though?
No, it was like different. It was eating disorder stuff. It was like Freely the Banana Girl eating like 20 bananas. So it was kind of
Freely
vegan.
the Banana Girl?
You never heard of Freely the Banana Girl?
Eating 20 bananas?
She like was a big like vegan craze back in like 2013. Like she would only eat fruits, and like it was
she was a fruitarian.
Yeah, it was like high carb, low fat, and then she would go on these crazy bike rides, like 20-mile bike rides. It was a big like eating disorder YouTube hole.
She was like orthorexic or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Or also, you can have multiple eating disorders at the same time.
Which we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So for a little bit of a preview, but also maybe not a preview, because sometimes I'm like, hey, we're going to talk about all these things, and then we talk about two of them.
Dero, yes.
So we might not get to all these, but you provided me a list of topics that we may or may not talk about depending on where the conversation goes. One of them is eating disorders. One of them, as I alluded to, is the authenticity thing. You wrote commodification of authenticity / social media.
You might learn something new, because Wade is not on social media.
Well,
in that capacity.
I am partially. I'm not as on as most people are. But I'm also not like completely off. Like,
yeah, okay.
Although that lifestyle has appealed to me a lot, where I feel like it's a very small trend, but a growing trend lately of people going back to the flip phone.
Yeah.
So it's like, they don't have the internet with them wherever they go. Maybe they still have a computer at home or whatever, or a laptop, but like in their pocket, no social media, just text and call. That's all it's for.
Well, because all it is, like the smartphone is like a gateway to addiction to those kinds of apps, because it's like right, at least for me, I don't know if you experience this, but it's like right when I wake up, it's like the phone, and then it's like, if that's the first thing you do in the morning is you go on social media, you're not like training your body to like get adjusted to your day and like being present. Like you're automatically like connected to the world and like people around you, and like it's just not a good habit. And then that continues throughout the day, and it's just like a bad gateway. Yeah.
So I guess maybe because we've touched on it lately, that can be our first topic. We can talk about that for a little
Sorry to jump out of order.
No, the order does not matter.
Okay.
And I was the one who brought it up anyway with the whole feeling inauthentic, repeating myself thing. But yeah, so I do have social media. I have Facebook, and I check it very occasionally. And I have Facebook Messenger because some people prefer to contact me through that rather than my phone number, even though they have my phone number, which I find strange.
Yeah, that's weird. Caden's mom does that to me, which is really strange.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess for some people it's easier or, I don't know, more convenient.
Yeah.
Messaging app.
They're already on Facebook all day long.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, I try to stay off Facebook for the most part. Although the thing is, I have a Facebook page for this podcast. So every once in a while, it's almost kind of useless for that page to exist because
you should make an Instagram.
It's not doing all that much. But every once in a while, when I post a podcast episode, I might also post a Facebook thing about it there. So then when I do that, then it's like, oh, now I'm on Facebook.
Yeah.
Although I don't linger there, but still, it's like Facebook tries to keep you by showing you 74 notifications that you have since the last time you were on.
Yeah. I think that if you're trying to get visibility for the podcast, Instagram would probably be a better social media.
That's
but I know
probably true.
You don't like Instagram.
And I do have an Instagram too. I just use that maybe once every 6 months.
Okay. But did you do your homework for the commodification of authenticity Instagram?
Did I do my homework? What was my homework?
I asked you to look at people in real life and how they post and present themselves
sorry, I totally
on social
forgot.
media.
That's
okay.
I did not do my homework.
That's okay.
The dog ate
This
it.
might be this might be a little foreign then, this kind of concept, because I think it's really mostly prevalent on Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't see it replicated a lot on Facebook or Twitter or other social medias.
Yeah. Instagram, I remember telling people about this when I was in high school or whatever. I've long suspected that it's probably the worst of the social medias. Although now Twitter probably, past few years, Twitter seems maybe that's the true cesspool of the internet. But Instagram always seemed horrible to me.
I think it's insidious, in a sense. I think personal Instagrams, having an Instagram for yourself, I am a .Hanschke account, because of this whole concept of when we were younger, it wasn't like this. I think this is a relatively new phenomenon, but it's coined on social media as casual Instagram. So it's you're posting a lot of your everyday life, your personal life, but it all has to be cool and curated, and it's very much a performance.
Yeah.
And then that permeates into your everyday life, where it's I'm constantly performing and trying to present a certain way, and it gets people very caught up in images and perception.
Yeah.
And it's not even oh, this is my image when I'm making a post. It's no, this has to be me every day, because oh my god, what if I get a picture, somebody takes a picture that could end up on Instagram, so it's everything around you has to be aesthetic and cool. Yeah. And then that's a form of social currency. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You probably start on Instagram just by looking through all the pictures or whatever you've taken, and then obviously you don't want to put up your lamest pictures on there. So it's what are my coolest pictures, the things that look the best, or the coolest things I've done, and those are the ones I'm going to feature, and then everyone else is doing that.
Have you heard of the photo dump?
No.
See, this is why it would have been helpful for you to do some homework. Because it's a post where you're just posting random silly moments from your life, but it's all
but still not
it's all purposeful. It's all curated.
It's this looks like the
looks like it's a
random
casual
lame thing that I did, but really it's still cool and curated.
And it might sound shallow and superficial to someone who's not on the app, but I just have been observing and it's not just me and my friends, it's everybody I know from high school. It's this weird social phenomenon that I seriously think permeates into how we all interact with each other off of social media.
Yeah, because then it's normally you'd be just living your life, but with Instagram mindset set in now, it's you kind of are on the lookout for the next picturesque or the thing that you could turn into your post. You go out to dinner and take a picture of your food, and you've got your phone is filled with thousands of food pictures, and to find the most beautiful one, it's I don't know. You're going for a walk through town, and you have to
you can't appreciate it. You have to take a picture of it.
Have you ever seen The Secret Life of Walter Mitty?
Mm-mm.
with Ben Stiller and Sean Penn and Kristen Wiig. It's a great movie. I'd recommend watching it. One of my favorite movies, actually. It's about basically this guy who works at a newspaper, Ben Stiller. It's directed by Ben Stiller, too. So whenever a movie is starring the director, I think that's probably like, I feel like that's got to be exactly that person's vision for what they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
There's like no other forces in the way. Like whatever it ended up being, that's what they wanted it to be. So yeah, it's directed and starring him. And he's working in a newspaper, and he kind of like, he doesn't like hate his job, but he wishes his life was more interesting. So he's always daydreaming, like, oh, he's an astronaut now, or like, oh, he's climbing a mountain now, like, and then people are always constantly like waking him up from his daydreams, like, hey, like, you got work to do, like, you got a life to live, like, you shouldn't just be daydreaming it away. And then he finally gets some opportunity to like live out his dreams. Basically, there's this photographer that he just has to find, but the photographer is like, and he's like a wildlife photographer, so he's always going around the world. So he's like chasing him down like on a wild goose chase, basically. And meanwhile, while he's like, 2 days behind this photographer, he's encountering a lot of new people and a lot of cool places and a lot of things to do to like, so his daydreams stop and he actually starts living them.
Oh, that sounds like a good movie.
It is, yeah, it's a great movie, and it's got a great soundtrack. But there's this one part in particular that what you just said reminded me of, where he finally tracks down the photographer, and it's in like the Himalayas or something. And then the photographer, Sean Penn, is trying to capture like a rare image of like a snow leopard or something. They're hard to find in their natural habitat or whatever, because they live in mountains and they don't come out very often. And then he gets like this perfect shot. Ben Stiller's right next to him, and he's got this big old camera, and like right in the shot is the snow leopard. And then Ben Stiller's looking at him. He's like, why aren't you taking it? And then the photographer puts down the camera, and he just like looks at the snow leopard instead of taking the picture. And then he says something about how like sometimes like things are better like without the lens. Yeah. Like you just have to like be in the moment, and it kind of takes something away from it if you have to view it from behind a lens and you're doing it for like, you're commodifying that snow leopard. Yeah, exactly. Instead of just witnessing it naturally.
It like taints the moment. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. And you've talked about this, like saying like you don't like to like fake pictures. Like you're like, oh, I'm smiling in front of like the whatever like monument that like your mom wants you to take a picture of. But now even candids have been commodified. Like it's like pictures of people just like hanging out and laughing, and like, you're not looking at the camera like a candid. It's like people fake that like for Instagram, or it's just like that's like what's always posted, and it is commodified, and it does take like the genuine like good of the moment.
So now the candids aren't even candids.
Candids aren't even candids anymore. What are we gonna do?
Yeah, those are always the pictures I actually liked and like would take sometimes. I don't take very many pictures, but if I would take them, it's not gonna be okay. Pose, smile for the camera. I'm just gonna take it because I've told you about that. But I grew up like just always. My mom, like, I appreciate it to some degree because my childhood is well documented. She just gave me a few months back like 3 boxes of photos. Wow. But they're really like each box is like a year of photos of me, in like a shoebox. So it's just like 3 years of my life. But there's like 400 photos in there or whatever. So it's like, I can see exactly how I was as a kid.
Which is frightening in another way, like looking back on your past self. But anyways, go ahead. I
mean, so to that extent, I do appreciate the fact that she would take so many pictures. But living through that, I didn't like always having to, I don't know, put on a fake face. Yeah. For the camera.
Can you tell in the pictures that you don't like it?
I don't know. I was kind of like a very smiley, for the most part, happy kid. I found it annoying, but like, I don't know, like, yeah, all of my smiles look weird, and maybe my natural smiles look weird because I was like trained to do it, like to always be smiling. But I smile like full teeth, front and top, like huge, big, cheesy, like that kind of smile. In all the pictures. So I just like, I don't know, it looks fake, but then also when you see so many of them, it's like, oh, that's just how I always am in all these pictures. It starts to not look fake, I guess. If that makes any sense.
Okay. Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah. But then like the even more, so like moving on to the more, like, I think Instagram is very insidious and bad and performative.
Do you still go on it?
Oh yeah. Dude, I've got like, I post all the time, but it's like, it's so easy. Like if you know exactly like what people will like to see, and you post like exactly like that, like you get like so much interaction, and then that's addictive. Like people like liking your pictures and like commenting and like reposting them on their stories. Like I feel like I've found like the hack. Like I know exactly like what people like to see like on the personal Instagram.
Are these personal Instagram? So it is people that know you.
Yes.
They're liking these and commenting on
yeah,
these. Okay.
Yeah. I think you should. I think you would get a kick out of observing it. Like,
I mean, I've seen it a little bit. Like, I guess I didn't do the homework. Like, I didn't spend a while like just looking at all these people I know, their personal Instagrams. But
it's like
I've still seen this like more like I don't know, residually, I guess.
But now it's like this expectation where it's like, you know, everything looks pretty. Like like your place you work looks pretty, your school looks pretty, your city looks pretty, and it's like. Yeah, it is like commodifying like all of these like daily moments that like are just supposed to be little things you enjoy. But then like that of like your entire like life, your everyday life, like looking aesthetic is now translated into B-Reel, which is that what you know about B-Reel. I make Wade take B-Reels at work because they go off at a rant. For those of you who don't know B-Reel, it goes off at a random point in the day and you don't know when it's going to go off, and that's the catch. But when it does go off, you have 2 minutes to post a front camera picture and a back camera picture of what you're doing at the time, and then everybody sees it, and it's like, oh my god, my everyday life is so cool and awesome because I'm like, you know, and it's like the whole, like, it's even like Be Real, like the name of it is like that whole commodification of authenticity that I'm kind of trying to talk about. Yeah.
When I first heard of Be Real, I thought the name was slightly clever because it's Be Real spelled like, you know, B-E in the space R-E-A-L. But at the same time, it's like Be Real is a thing in like filming. Like, you know, you've got your like B, like the letter R-E-E-L.
Oh.
So that, like, you can have like background footage or like, you know, excess footage that you kind of put in wherever's needed.
Mm-hmm.
So kind
do you
like
think that is a play on that?
I mean, I feel like it should have been.
Yeah, because it's like
it doesn't quite fit because
behind the scenes.
Yeah, it is kind of like behind the scenes footage of your life, or at least it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's not. It's less that than I thought it was when I first heard of it. Yeah, it's. I don't know. It seems like that falls into the same problem that Instagram has. It's like.
You're always on guard.
Right. Yeah. Be Real seems like it was more intended for you to be real, but I have a hard time believing anybody's using it for that, or that most people that use it, they're probably just like posing like, oh, my Be Real's off, gotta like set up the perfect, you know.
Yeah. Or you
picture.
Like wait to post, like people like don't want to like actually post on the minute that it goes off because they're like not doing something cool, and then they like be fake and post late. But like
be fake. That should be the name.
Yeah, well, because that's what it is like turning into. It's like people are afraid, or like if their authentic self is not cool enough, XYZ enough, like aesthetic enough, then that's a problem.
Yeah. Sadly, I think the only way to counteract this kind of thing, like the commodification of your authenticity and just kind of like of your existence really through Instagram and Be Real, is to not engage at all in it. Because
that's probably true.
If you were to try and like, you know what, I'm going to start an Instagram account where I only post ugly stuff, that would just become commodified. Like, yeah. I mean, it might just not be successful at all, but
if it caught on, that would be the new thing.
And you wanted it, like obviously you would want it to actually have a counteracting effect. Yeah, that would just be the new thing. It'd be like, oh, now we're commodifying like just like weird grungy stuff and like things that aren't aesthetically appealing. And then, you know, since aesthetics are kind of always evolving and subjective, the things that previously were non-aesthetic would become the new aesthetic.
And and then the things that are not aesthetic are then cringe, and like you'd want to be like that.
Yeah.
So I do think people who have switched to flip phones probably are onto something. I think we should probably do away with the whole thing of social media, but that's the problem, is it's addicting and it's like already like ingrained in people's, you know, like relationships and like how they interact with people around them.
What's the social media that you use the most?
Probably Instagram. Yeah.
Do you know like how many hours you spend on it a day?
I could check on my phone actually right now.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay. This might be very much the antithesis of what I'm trying to convey.
Well, I think it's kind of like a life thing, like a truism almost, that the people who are most critical of something are usually the ones who are most involved in that thing.
Yeah. No, because I'm like observing like exactly like how it's happening and like how it's affecting those who use it.
Yeah. Like if you're not even dealing with the thing at all, you're not going to probably spend your time critiquing it.
So last week I spent 7 hours and 17 minutes on Instagram total. So it's about an hour a day.
An hour a day, okay.
But that also doesn't include like looking through my photos, like editing them in a different app,
taking them, seeking them out.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it does also eat up a large portion of like your thought and your time, which is like something I could be contributing to more important things.
Potentially, probably your self-esteem as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's eating away at that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't know, how much personally for you, how much of your self-esteem do you think is derived from likes and interaction that you get on Instagram?
I would almost argue that it's beneficial for me personally right now because I'm kind of on an up. Like, like, I don't know. I've kind of, like I said, like I've been like using it and like getting a lot of like positive feedback from people. So I guess it's like a confidence boost. But like,
so does that mean a lot of it?
If it would, yeah, a lot of it. Like I think if it would stop, I would be like, what's going on? I need to like rethink my Instagram strategy. Like, it would be like probably a negative if it started to decrease.
Right. So like, I mean, it might be, beneficial for you obviously to have higher self-esteem, to feel good about yourself. But I guess what I'm saying is, if a lot of your self-esteem is derived from Instagram, it's like now your happiness is dependent on your Instagram success.
It's not being derived from like a natural source.
Or like yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it's like maybe a cliche at this point, but like, finding, self-esteem, happiness, whatever it is, contentment from within, and like rather than from external sources.
More sustainable, yeah, because eventually this is going to crash probably. Like you can't depend on like those kind of sources.
You might be able to pull off having the same amount of Instagram success for the rest of your life, but I don't know, maybe not. And also, would you be content with that? Is there any part of you that wants to, like, okay, say you spend a couple months posting stuff on Instagram and each one's getting 120 likes. At a certain point, are there diminishing returns on how much this satisfies you? Or at a certain point, you need to get more than 120 for it to be a success?
Yeah, like I do find myself like looking at it and being like, well, there actually is a feature if you turn on your Instagram to like business mode or something, you can actually like look at a graph of like how your likes like increase and decrease and your followers increase and decrease. I recently turned that off because that is just like bad, I feel like. But yeah, sorry, what was your original question?
Basically, like, do you think that you, in order to maintain your levels of self-esteem or, whatever the variable is that you're getting from Instagram, in order to maintain that, do you need these numbers to go up?
I don't need them to go up, but I feel like if they started to go down, like I need a maintenance.
Okay, but so like the same amount of likes and that just stays in perpetuity. That's gonna do it for you? That's enough?
Eventually I would probably be like...
Eventually it needs to go up.
Yeah, yes.
So over time, over the course of your life, it does, your Instagram success needs to increase and increase.
Yes.
No matter how slowly that increasing is.
Yeah. I do hate it, and I do think it's bad, which is why I wanted to talk about it. But I just like, it is so fun to observe and participate in and analyze.
And I think another very related thing to what I was saying about the people who critique things the hardest are the ones who are involved in them the most. It's also like, most of the time, at least personally for me, like whenever I am very harsh on a thing, that usually is maybe like, I don't know, twistedly coming from a place of like love on it. Like, I really enjoy this and I'm upset that it isn't as good as it could easily be. Something like that. Like a TV show that made like a stupid mistake and like was good aside from that mistake. It's like I'm gonna be really, really harsh on that mistake. Like Game of Thrones, for example. Like, I love Game of Thrones and it shit the bed and now it's unforgivable. But a show that like I only mildly liked. I'm not, even if it sucks worse than Game of Thrones or made worse mistakes, I don't care as much. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So like maybe, you get a lot of enjoyment out of Instagram and you appreciate whatever good there is there. That's why all the bad that comes with it, you're extra cognizant of.
Oh yeah, I would say that is accurate. Yeah. It's almost kind of like an art like form, like the photo dump, like, like it's like curating things to match, like it's like almost like fashion is. Like, it's like a trend that you have to follow, but if you follow it just right, it's good. If you don't follow it right, it's bad. Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It is like a new, interesting kind of, I don't know. I'm very frightened to see how social media and technology evolves.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm mixed on that. Like,
oh, really?
It could just get worse and worse, but at the same time, it's like potentially the longer technology is around, the more we get used to, like, or the more we learn how to handle it properly. Perhaps when social media hits its like 50th, 60th birthday or whatever, then it'll like, well, by then we'll have, worked out the kinks and like maybe regulated away, like a lot of the bad aspects of it. Like, these companies like Facebook aren't allowed to do these things and aren't allowed to advertise in these ways and all that. So that maybe by the time it's like a few generations from now, it might actually be more of a good than a bad.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I could also see it just basically eating away at humans.
I think because of how
addictive,
over time. How addictive it is. Like, I think we're going to be hard pressed to get rid of it. Especially like, we haven't talked about TikTok yet, but the way that like, it's like a casino. Your clock turns off. Like, it's like it ropes you in and gets you in with these short videos and these bursts of things that you really like. A curated algorithm that's exactly what you want to see. Like, people have a hard time quitting social media.
It is addictive like that. Yeah. I'm very glad I'm not a TikTok user, but Adrian is, and it definitely can consume a lot of your time and suck you in. And it's like the algorithm's not perfect because, for instance, in Adrian's case, she still gets like these random ones that are like directed at like religious country girls or something. It's like, where's that coming from?
Does she like them?
No, she's like, just scrolls past it
okay.
immediately, but they still show up like
that's
every
weird.
once in a while. Yeah. So it's a lot of cats and for her anyway. Like, that does tune into to what you like and give you more of that.
And the more you use it, the more accurate it is. So then it's like just a very bad spiral.
Owned by China, so there's some potential for some geopolitical. Messing with your brains because they want the American populace to be distracted, stupid, misinformed, all the above.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you know, they do like have to have access to your microphone too, like at all times.
I mean, I don't know because I haven't downloaded TikTok.
Yeah, I can double check, but like that, I think that is in like the terms and conditions. So like that's another ththing. Like, it's like
listening to you
to curate like your algorithm. Like, it's not even just like your activity on the app that they're monitoring. Like, me and my friends will do this thing, like we'll like Snapchat each other like, oh, like dog food, and like pictures of dog food, and like hang on, and then we get ads for it, and we get like TikToks for it.
You're
like,
doing it just to test that?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, we'll like text each other and Snapchat each other, and like be like, around our phones will be like dog food. Like, I'm using an example, but like we'll do it with like a myriad of different things. Like,
I guess that's a good kind of interesting point because people have often said, I've noticed it too, like, oh, your phone's listening to you or listening to me or whatever. But I always thought, like, as shitty of a company as Apple is in a lot of ways, they've also historically been pretty good about privacy stuff.
Fill me in.
Like, there was like a case I remember a few years ago where there's some like guy who murdered somebody or like intended on like bombing a school. I don't remember exactly what it was, but some guy who did a bad thing, and he had a smartphone, and the FBI or I think it was the FBI came to Apple and was like, can you unlock his smartphone for us so we can go through his information? And they're like, no.
Really?
Yeah. So even though, like, I don't know, he was a criminal or whatever, it's his personal, it's like privacy. It's like, that's his data. You're not allowed to access it.
And like, even though he did a bad thing, like, that's totally, I agree with that. Like, they shouldn't. Yeah.
So I mean, there's like cases like that where it's like, oh, Apple's like standing up for your privacy. So then it's also kind of weird. Like, is it the phone itself that's listening to you and then selling that information to advertisers so they can show you dog food? Or like, you just, because I didn't know that TikTok has to use your microphone.
I think
it's probably not. Well, it might not be the smartphone itself that's listening to you. It might be all the apps you have on it.
Yeah.
Like, you download Reddit, TikTok, Facebook, and then those apps are selling your information to advertisers rather than like Apple itself. Although it could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seems less characteristic of Apple maybe than it does of Facebook or of TikTok to do that.
I think you can turn it off, but like you can't access like half the features then like don't even have anything to do with your microphone. Like they make it so that if you want the full user experience, like you have to have your microphone.
Like if you want to have a good time, enjoy this app, give us your
basically it's
privacy.
a trade-off. Yeah.
And then people agree to that.
So I should probably delete TikTok. But it's like I'm also scared of being out of like the cultural loop of like what.
I mean,
ever.
See, the internet especially has given rise to this in a bad way in a lot of ways, where like no matter who you are and what kind of like cultural group you're part of, like there's always people for you to join. You know, like if you were to get out of the loop on TikTok, there's another loop you could join. You know, you could be part of the people who are anti-TikTok. You know,
yes.
There's always some other crowd that you can fit into. Like you can be part of the flip phone people.
Yeah. And that'd probably be way cooler and more mysterious.
Like you there's a sense of belonging to be had everywhere, in a sense of like, oh, I'm doing the cool thing. Because really, from my perspective anyway, it seems cooler to go retro and go for the flip phone than it does to fall into the modern trends.
Yeah. And then you have such an opportunity to be more of like a fulfilled person with all that free time and like mental energy.
Hour a day of Instagram, however many hours a day of TikTok that you aren't using on that anymore.
Yeah, that adds up. I could probably like do my schoolwork or something.
Yeah, or just get better sleep, or maybe spend time in real life with friends.
Practice hobbies.
Learn a musical instrument. So many adventures that life could take you on.
So do you think this is like purposeful? Like this kind of like this social media designed to be addictive? Like I think it 100%. It keeps us away from like a sense of like achievement that we could be having almost. Like
do you think that's purposeful?
Populist. I think
that's what you're saying? Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like the addictive part is linked to like keeping us from like whatever else we could be doing. Like we're just wasting away our hours and our mental energy.
I mean, I think they're definitely purposefully designed to be addictive, but I think it's more for the like less convoluted reason of they just want to make as much money off as you as possible by collecting data on you and selling that to advertisers.
Well, can it be both?
I mean, it could be both. So do you think that they want to do that, and they also want to make you less of an actualized person? Like,
I think so.
Why would they want that though?
Because then we're easier to make money off of, and we're easier to manipulate, and we're less likely to be like aware of what's going on with this whole like social media thing as well. Like it's a way of like clouding us almost. Okay. Especially because like, especially if you use social media like first thing in the day, you're like setting your dopamine like receptors to like very, very high. Like it's like content I like in short bursts, bright colors, like attractive people, whatever it is that like gets your dopamine going like right away at the start of your day. And then certain things that are supposed to be like just like food, time with people, like other things that give you natural dopamine are not as exciting to you anymore.
Yeah, I see that. Although consider this, basically apps and platforms that basically get all of their value from user generated content, such as TikTok and Instagram, they in some ways would be disincentivized from like, I don't know, draining all of your time away on this and like making you lesser of a person and less like motivated to do things that are interesting and cool in real life, because they need a large amount of people to be the creators. They need people to be like good at things and do interesting things and be funny and be creative in order to make the TikToks.
Yeah.
So if they're trying to make everyone like dumbed down and like stupid and clouded and like all the time, then the TikTok creators themselves would be experiencing that, which I think would probably result in worse TikToks, and then it would kind of spiral downward.
Not necessarily dumb, like almost like chronically online.
Okay.
Like this is a beneficial, like, because I don't know what side of TikTok you've seen, but like some of the sides of TikTok I'm on are like not very like creative. Like it's just like people like in front of their screen, and then there's like a like sob story like in front of it, and that has like 30K likes. Like it's like seriously like brain deadness all around. Like
okay, I've seen some pretty interesting TikToks. Like
no, sometimes I come across like a very creative like good one, but
okay, I don't know if you've seen this one, because I don't know how much of like bubbles any given TikTok user is in, like how much overlap there is between what they see. But there was one TikTok that Adrian showed me that I actually loved. It was like two guys that live together and have a cat leave for work, and then as soon as they leave, the cat jumps onto their computer and then starts like opens up Logic and then starts making music and like with its little pause, and it's like, you know, you hear it being made and it's like 20 seconds and then it's like done with the song, but then they get home and the cat looks at the door and like pretends like it wasn't doing anything, and they're like, what were you doing? And then they realize that the cat was making music, so they play it, and then it's this awesome like disco like song that they made or whatever, like a EDM kind of song, and then it ends with all three of them and their cat like dancing to it.
So they obviously like made music.
They made music.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they edit a video where their cat is making music.
And I don't think that it's entirely terrible. Like, it's a way to connect people with like shared interests, and like people can show their talents to the world. Like, I think that it's sad that those parts of it have to be overlooked because of like the bad that comes with it.
Yeah, there's like potentially a way that it could be designed where it's got most of the good sides and not the bad sides. Like, if you get rid of advertising and it's just, although I mean that would remove the creators' incentive somewhat because then they won't be making money off of it. It would just be doing it for the views, I guess.
But like even doing it for like connecting with people and like finding people who have like a collective interest in something. Like maybe just removing like money as like the main driver of these things.
Yeah, I think the advertising model kind of ruins everything. Like, whatever websites, app, platform it is, like, put advertising in there, it's worse now.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you were saying about the graph on Instagram, like tracking, like, oh, your you know, these are your monthly likes or comments or whatever. I'm not completely off social media because the two biggest ones that I'm on, and I'm on them probably pretty frequently, is Reddit and YouTube. And then on YouTube, it's like almost every day, basically, I just check like my analytics to see like how many subscribers have I gotten the past month, how like hours of watch time do I have, what are my top videos this period, and like do I have any new comments, and that can involve that whole gratification treadmill, basically, or like hamster wheel, where it's like, you know, it feels good to have a video that gets a lot of views, or like a lot more views than you're used to getting, and it can feel good to have, you know, supportive comments that are like, oh, you like your channel should be so much bigger than it is, like can't wait till you blow up, that kind of thing. It's like,
I can't
it always
wait.
feels cool. And then on the other end of it, 2 days ago, I woke up, checked my email. Email is kind of something that I spend too much time on.
Really?
Not like I just checking it, really.
Yeah, you get.
I'm not like crafting emails, but I'm just like I check my email like multiple times a day.
Yeah, somehow I feel like every app nowadays needs to email me.
Right. Yeah. And I do spend a lot of time going, well, not a lot, but like every day it's like there's a few email lists, like how am I on this? Got to unsubscribe. But anyway, I wake up, check my email, and my YouTube notifications kind of like the comments get sent to my email. And the first thing after I open my eyes on that day, I see somebody saying, you know, I don't really think you're bright enough to cover this subject matter.
Whoa. Wow.
And I'm like, great. That's
It's a hate comment, Wade.
Yeah.
That means
so
you're
you
famous.
Deal with those too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I might not be on Instagram very much, but I feel like I experienced the same-ish thing.
Yeah.
Through YouTube.
At least like feeling like some sort of gratification or like boost or decrease in self-confidence. The approval of others. Yeah, exactly.
And also Reddit is like the time sink that maybe your 1 hour a day of Instagram, that could be equivalent to my probably 1 hour a day of Reddit. And I don't know, like Reddit, I feel like used to be better than it is.
Yeah, I used to be big on Reddit.
Not anymore.
Not really. A lot of the subs I'm in are like not active anymore, and I just like don't care enough to like try to find new ones. Yeah.
I don't know. I used to like always be on Reddit not logged in because I felt like a lot of places, the algorithm or whatever, the things that you follow, it's just like too much that. You know, it's like just because I want to be, I joined that subreddit and that subreddit, I don't want to see like those all the time, like every single thing. Like, I don't know.
Just trying to find new stuff.
Right.
To, like, yeah.
More like general appeal stuff rather than things that are trying to be specifically tailored to my interests.
And then you kind of get into like an echo chamber, like a bubble of like only people who agree with you, like only like-minded individuals, and you're not really like exposing yourself to anything different.
Right. Like you join the atheism subreddit, and then you see a bunch of atheism posts. So then it kind of probably skews your worldview more towards like, oh, like everyone I know thinks religion is crazy. And it's like, everyone, that's not like reflective of the actual world. Like, it's like more than half of people don't think that. Like, probably the majority of like everybody who lives on Earth doesn't think religion is crazy.
Yeah.
So it's putting you in a distorted bubble.
Definitely.
Try to avoid that, but it still happens anyway.
I feel like Reddit's a bad way to avoid that. Like, it's like
Reddit. Yeah, I go through periods sometimes where like, okay, I'm gonna make a point to not go on Reddit, and then that lasts a few months, and then go on it again for some reason.
Addiction.
It is addiction. Yeah. No, I agree. See, I'm not totally off social media. I just don't use Twitter. Don't really use Instagram at all. Hardly ever use Facebook. Don't use TikTok.
Yeah, don't start. That's like cigarettes. Like,
don't use Be Real.
Start. Yeah.
It's like cigarettes. I mean, yeah, maybe. I wonder which one's more addictive.
Probably I don't know. I've never been addicted to cigarettes. I don't know. But I think this is like very much getting like my siblings' generation. Like, my oldest little sibling is 14. And like every time I'm home, like those kids are on the cell phone, like glued to it. And like that's what I meant when I'm saying like I'm really scared to see like how it evolves because they are already addicted at an age where I was still like playing outside every day after school and I had a flip phone, like their brains are so plastic and moldable still, and like they're already going through the things that I went through. And I get like your brain isn't fully developed until you're like 25, whatever.
That's what they say.
But like
I don't know,
they're being exposed to it at an age where their brain is so much more influenceable, like, so I don't know, I'm kind of interested and scared to see how that shakes out as they become adults.
What I was saying is more like maybe a little bit more of a long-term view of like, I think this probably generation younger than us might be mightily fucked up by social media and by online addiction, by being iPad kids. But, maybe a couple more generations down, we'll have a grasp on it.
Well, because your brain is, like, not even designed or evolved to, like, see that much information in one day. Like, to know about every single thing that's going on in the world, like, to see all of these different, like, facts and opinions. And then on TikTok, for some reason, like, my For You page is always, like, people, like, trauma dumping, like, bad stuff that happens to them. And it's just, like, wow, like my brain was really not like supposed to see all this information and all this sadness like in one day. Like it's just kind of like worrying on the human psyche almost.
Yeah. Our brains, evolutionarily speaking, spent most of their time in small communities of maybe like 100, 150 people or less. And that's like, I don't remember what the studies are, but they say like that's the amount of people that you can actually like know. Any more than that, it's like there's like almost like a limit on like human connections. Like the connections beyond like 150, they say like are not real because you can't actually like maintain. At least most humans, I think it's something like you can't maintain like regular contact and like closeness with that many people to actually maintain those relationships enough. But it's like you're used to comparing yourself to 100 people ish maybe. Of like, smarts, looks, whatever, cleverness, funniness. And then now it's like through the internet generally, but also even just kind of ramping up over time through always being on TikTok or Reddit or whatever. You're just coming into contact with people
so many people.
Yeah, like instead of 100, it's like 100 times 100 times 100 times 100 people. Just like the whole world's population of like, oh, guess what? I'm better looking than you. Yeah. I'm funnier than you. I'm like cooler, more successful than you. I'm all these things. I'm just you, like, if you were good.
I mean, yeah, you're hitting it on the head. Yeah, that's like.
So I feel like with Instagram and really this is how I've always felt with Instagram, especially, but also TikTok and YouTube and stuff. It's like you're exposed to all these different people, especially if you're following more than just the people you personally know. If you're just following accounts because you think the person seems cool or whatever, or makes good pictures, you're exposed to all these people that make you, at least on a subconscious level, feel like shit because they're living better lives than you are, or it seems like they are, and they're prettier than you and everything.
And their life's more aesthetic, in their authentic moments.
Right. Yeah. So then it's like, I feel like on a base level, it's dragging you down and down and down. And then you kind of counteract that a little bit by making your own post that gets 64 likes, and that makes you feel good. So it's like these bumps of like upward, self-esteem, but the whole trajectory, I would assume anyway, or the feeling I get is a downward one where it's like you're just exposed to all these people all the time who are making you feel inferior.
Yeah, but that's like exactly like it's just almost an information overload, but like a bad information overload, constantly.
Well, I don't know if there's such thing as a good information overload.
I suppose this is true, yeah.
Because
so that's redundant.
Not just like on a people level, but also like on an information level, or like a news level. I feel like it's not helpful to be in tune with what all of the news is.
Yeah, no.
Especially all like the global news, like there's some genocide happening in a different country, and that's horrible.
Knowing about that when you can't even do anything about it.
I mean, unless you're gonna like donate to the cause or whatever, which most people probably aren't, but unless like that's who you are, you learn about some genocide, so you donate to a charity to help counteract that genocide, like that's great. But if you're just learning about it and that's making that like that's it, what's that doing for you? Besides harming you, besides making you...
And then it snowballs, like global conflict, climate change, everything going on in American politics. Like, it's just like, is that healthy to know about it all happening all at once?
Yeah.
It's not even a problem with social media. It's almost just media.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know, like, it's still not that great back in the 70s or whatever when you're just watching your local news station. Like, what's even the good there? But at least there it was more confined. It was less all the time and less large scale because they're only reporting on like, I don't know, a small area. It's like there's not that much crazy stuff that happens in a small area in any given time. But now you tune into like Fox News and it's like, this just in from a different country where 17 men were just decapitated by a school child. It's like you wouldn't have learned about that like 30 years ago.
Well, and it's also not in your pocket all the time. Like it's true. Like people are on their phones when they're walking to class, like they're on their phones when they're going to the bathroom. Like it's permeated our, like, you can't even like be alone with your own thoughts because it's like you always have this distracting, exciting like thing in front of you in your hands. Yeah, and
I feel like everyone's experienced this. It's just harder to maintain focus and attention on things because there's always that thing in your pocket calling for your attention, and like maybe it buzzes or maybe you just thought it buzzed and you check it and it didn't buzz, but now it's open. Yeah, it's like makes it hard to read books, makes it hard to do homework, makes it hard to like have conversations with people without getting distracted by what's in your pocket.
And I think COVID and like the whole like quarantine like really exacerbated like that because that is combined with like a lack of face-to-face interaction with people. And like I don't know if you experience like this at all, but like I got like super addicted to my phone like in that month, like 5-month period of just like not seeing very many people because that was like more exciting alternative than like reading, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think that was a good year for me for reading.
Oh, that's good.
But this year has not been. I've been failing. But actually, that's one of the reasons why I like doing podcasts like this, because it's more than just a regular conversation, because the person I'm talking to, and every single podcast I've ever done, it seems like they feel an obligation to not check their phone.
Yeah, like, I feel like that's
rude. If I didn't have these microphones here,
I almost don't even like it that it's on the table now.
Right. If I didn't have these microphones here, you or whoever else I might be talking to, might have checked your phone 3, 4, 5, 7 times by now. But now that it's like we're doing a thing, or like producing a thing, it's like on some level, it falls into the same trap. We're commodifying this, like this conversation.
This is true.
And that's sinister in some ways, but at the same time, it's like it can provide. And has, I feel like for me, provided ways to like actually sit down and have like a good conversation with someone where you otherwise might not. You probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah. No, I never thought about that before. That's like super interesting insight.
And the other good part of this is commodification of it aside, and really it's not that commodified. I'm not really making any money off of this. But
Okay.
the nice thing is it's like a recording. Like, you can go back and I haven't really done it much, but you can go back and listen to a conversation you had with another person and one, see how you thought at that time in your life, maybe if it's 5 years from now, but also like, I don't know, remember the person and the conversation you had. Because there's some people that I'm not really like friends with anymore that I've done podcasts with. So it's like that's like a time capsule of like our friendship.
That's really cute. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about a different subject now?
Yeah. So a way to transition is the only time that I'm really like, not the only time. I think I'm going to rephrase that. A time where I can practice like being alone with my thoughts is definitely running, because it's very hard to be scrolling on your phone or looking at your phone when you're running. So that is a very like sanctuary time for me, and like practicing like being alone in my head. And I haven't been able to do it much since the marathon, but it's like very easy to do when you're training for a marathon, because you've got so much time on your hands. I don't really like to listen to music or even podcasts that much. I really prefer to run with someone else, so then I can just like talk to them the whole time. And it's like super fun conversation.
Do you have like a specific running buddy?
Oh, my sister. Yeah, that's who I ran the marathon
nice.
with. Yeah.
Yeah, you recently ran a marathon, which I think is really cool. And it's
Thanks.
one of the things on my bucket list, but I'm not prepared at this moment to do it.
I could definitely help you prepare.
I'm so out of shape when it comes to running. The last few times I've ran, I like felt ill. Like,
oh no.
Like I felt, I don't know. It's not an experience
Like
that
nauseous?
I had. It was kind of like that. It's like I feel like I used to be able to run without experiencing this. So maybe it's just I need to do it more and more to like grow out of that. But it was like I'm running on outside or on a treadmill or whatever it is, and I can like run and I feel completely fine while running. And then when I stop after like, I don't know, just 10 minutes of running, I stop, I'm tired, and then like a minute later I start feeling absolutely horrible, and it's kind of nausea. It's like kind of like I could throw up right now, but it's also like kind of like I could shit my pants right now. And it's kind of like I just like I need water, but I can't like drink physically. Like I just want to lay down and kind of die. It's not a good feeling. But and it's actually not completely, but it has been preventing me from running more, because like I don't want to experience that again.
So the biggest advice I give to people who want to run is take advantage of the run walk. The run walk is how you build a base. Because the reason that I jumped into marathon training like halfway through my sister's like plan, because she was like actually legit training for it, because she's like responsible and like good. But like I've been running cross country and track like my whole life, so I have like a base set there like that I'm building upon. So I always tell people like you have to build up a base before you can like train for anything. So the run walk is usually what I tell people to do. I say run for a minute, walk for a minute, repeat that 10 times. And then,
that's what I was doing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You weren't running for like 10 minutes straight?
No. Yeah,
okay.
It's split up. I just like, I run and then I'm tired, so I walk. And then I
so like this is like what you have to do with anything you want to get better at, but it's like you just got to keep doing it and keep doing it.
Start small and build it up. Yeah.
So what would be your biggest question about marathon training?
One question I have, I guess, is how long do you think it takes from, say, my position right now, where I'm having problems running, to actually being able to run a marathon?
Yeah. So I would say you probably would want like a good 6 months of like training. And
then that training, though, how like often? Like every day? 5 days a week?
You should not run every day. You're going to get injured. But I would say...
How many days of downtime should you put in a week, do you think?
You could get away with only running 4 times a week when you're training for a marathon. But I would say don't go any less than that. But like usually people do like 4 to 6 days a week. And like you would always want to incorporate like a long run, like your longest run of the week that is like significantly longer than everything else that you're doing, and like a workout run. So like when you're building your base, you're just like running. You don't want to do any sort of workout runs. But when you get up to like closer to race day, you want to have some sort of thing like to pace yourself at, or like practice, like, like running when you think that you can't anymore, you know, and you can't run 26 miles every single day when you're training for a marathon. So you have to go faster for a shorter distance, but like push yourself to the brink and force yourself to like go over that threshold. Yeah.
That makes sense. That's like what you do with like strength training.
Yeah. But I think marathon training, the longest that I ran before the marathon was only 17 miles.
So you went from 17 to 26?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And I definitely think that a large part of it was like the adrenaline of race day and like the Fox Cities Marathon, which is where I ran it, which is where I grew up. It goes through like all 7 cities that are like part of the Fox Cities. So it's Appleton, Neenah, Kimberly, Little Chute.
These 7 cities are all within 26 miles of each other?
Yeah. That's why they call it like the Fox Valley, like Fox Cities area. They're all like pretty close to each other.
By cities, do they really just mean town?
They're like, yeah, I think they call it the Fox Cities, but they're probably technically officially towns or villages. I know it's the village of Kimberly, but it's where I grew up. So it was really nostalgic. You know, you're going through like everywhere. You had high school track meets and like you met like certain friends and like whatever. So I think that definitely helped me like power through the miles that I didn't train for. And what was also really cool about how they ran the Fox Cities is there was literally never a point where there weren't people cheering. Like the community is so
26 miles of audience basically?
Yes, basically. So like I definitely walked, but like for some parts of it, but like you feel like people are watching you, so like you don't want to be caught walking. And like people would always have like their sprinklers going and like their kids and their dogs out and like water stations with volunteers. Like there was water stations more than every mile. So there was always like big groups of volunteers. The community is like really invested in it, which is why I definitely recommend Fox Cities for your first marathon.
Wait, so where is this marathon? Like, are you just running through like neighborhoods?
Yeah, it actually goes right past my house, the house I grew up at. So my sister and I would always sit in like I was on a Sunday, so we would get to skip church. So it was very fun. It was a good day for us. We would get like donuts and we would like sit on the driveway and we'd just like watch all the marathoners go by, and we were like, oh my god, we're gonna do that one day.
That's cool.
Yeah, so
you
it was
grew
really
up watching that and then you participated in it later.
Yeah, and it was us two together. Like we would always watch it together and then we ran it together. So it was a really like dope experience.
Was it her first time?
Yes, but she left me like at the halfway point. She was like, I need to go faster, so I'm gonna go faster. She left me behind. But it's okay. I met a lot of cool like other people. I was running with this older dude. I don't want to be like rude, but he was like the oldest dude like I think I've ever seen. Like I didn't catch his name and I really wish I would have, but I was running with him.
He's dead now, so.
I was running with him for a good mile, I think, and he was telling me about how he ran a marathon the day prior.
He's doing them every day.
That was his first marathon the day prior.
Oh wait, the day before was his first marathon?
Yes.
He's ever done?
Ever done.
And then he just won
the next
day?
And then he did one back to back, and I was
crazy,
like,
man.
I know, I was like so taken aback. I was like, wow. But he said he wanted to do an ultra. Yeah. Like before he died, like that was his big goal. So he got the marathon out of the way, and then he's doing another one to train for an ultra.
Wait, what was ultra? It's like 50 miles or something?
I think technically it's 50, but I think it is 50, but technically an ultra is just anything that's over 26.
I feel like if you can do 2 26s in 2 days, you can run 50.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm surprised his joints are like kicking. I don't know.
I've seen a lot of like working at Trader Joe's. I remember it's a lot of like really healthy old men. Yeah. There's this one guy in particular that I'm thinking of who would come in like once a month and he would just fill his cart with nuts.
Wow.
And I asked him once, I was like, so like, what else do you eat? And he's like, this is all I eat.
Really?
He just eats nuts. And like he just spends probably a really long time every day eating them because like nuts can be hard to eat.
Yeah. He seriously said he doesn't eat anything else? I
think so, yeah. He also had a bunch of vitamins too. He had nuts and vitamins. Okay. And then, you drink like water or whatever. But
wow.
He was just like straight up eating nuts. And apparently he had a big variety of nuts.
Yeah.
So whatever variety he had, apparently he thought that was, or maybe that was.
I mean, clearly that was
enough
the
to
secret.
get the nutrients.
Yeah. But I was definitely, like, my sister and I are definitely like one of the youngest people running that marathon. Like,
really?
It was primarily like people who looked like 30 and up, but like a lot of older people.
Was that? Do you think that was just because of the area it was in, or is that a thing about marathons?
I think that's a thing about marathons. I don't know for sure though.
What do you think the average like shape everyone was in? Were they like runner shape, runner condition?
Not
or just
like it's really
random?
diverse. Like honestly, it was a super cool experience. Like very like gender diverse, like very like racially diverse, like very body type diverse, very age diverse. That's why I love doing it and I really want to do another one is because it's just like, wow, like the only thing that we all really have in common is that we like running.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And so you're running next to that guy. Did you like talk to a lot of different people while
yeah.
you were doing the marathon?
Well, so when my sister left me, I can't believe, like, it's still like, wow. It's whatever. I'm sorry. But I had a couple buddies. So I had the really old guy. He was super sweet. And then there was this other girl that I ran next to for a while who was my age. So like we bonded over that. Like we were talking about how we were like, where are all the 20-year-olds? Like what's going on? But then she was telling me about how her dad and her mom met running a marathon. Like they were just like random people running it, and then they just ended up like next to each other and like ran together, which was pretty neat.
That is cool.
Story to hear. And then I ran next to some pacers, so they have like people who are like professional marathon runners. I asked them like how many they had ran in their life, and they said they lost count. And they look
pacer. Is that just the name of a professional marathon runner? Or like...
Well, they have like signs that they hold that is like, we're running this marathon at like 4 hours and 30 minutes. We're running this marathon at 4 hours and 45 minutes. So if you have a time goal, you can run next to them and try to stick with them. But like they were explaining to me like how they get it to be so accurate, and it's just because they've ran so many in their life.
Like they know the timing.
Yeah. Well, they're supposed to be pacing for 30 minutes or longer than what they actually race, like when they're running it to race, because then that's how they know that they can do it. But apparently like it's really strict, like if they don't like get within like a minute of their pace time, like for because people like I don't know, like have like certain goals, like like rely on them to pace them almost. So like they'll get like docked if they do that like X amount of times, and then they can get like fired.
Wait, this is a paid job?
I don't know if it's...
or just like a...
I think it is paid. I think they are paid.
Who's paying for this? Is it like a taxpayer thing?
I think it's whoever runs... Because the Fox Cities Marathon is sponsored by like tons of like different companies. And then you also pay. You have to pay to run a marathon. Oh. I paid $80.
It costs $80 for a marathon?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, because you get... they have to like close off all the roads, and like they have to get the water stations, and you get like energy gels at like certain stations. Then like if you're running over 10 miles, you probably want to have some sort of food like to fuel you. So these energy gels are just like sugar and electrolytes and like some other things, and they're actually really good. Like there's chocolate, vanilla, lemon.
Are they vegan?
Yeah, they are.
Wow.
They're the Cliff brand too. Which is really cool. Yeah, they had those at a couple of stations. And then at the end, you can have like beer and like bananas and like food. Like, I don't know. So you're paying for, you're paying for some things, I suppose. And the medal.
Wait, does it like everyone get a medal?
Yeah, you get a participation medal.
What if you don't finish? Do you still get the medal?
I don't know. I finished, so.
How many people do you think were there doing it?
I could look it up and tell you, but I would say probably, I would say like probably like 500 people. Yeah.
Wow.
It was really cool because we started at like 7 a.m. So the sun like wasn't totally up. So you could still see the moon. So like the start line was like in the dark, and it's like 500 people like all lined up, and then the moon is like above us, and it's just like, I don't know. It was really cool.
Was this in September?
Yes.
Was it cold that day?
It was like honestly the perfect running temperature. Like it was like 65.
Oh, that's pretty good,
yeah.
Was there like, I don't know, like a special award for like first, second, third place?
Yeah, you get money if you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you place.
Do you know how much it was?
I think it it was like 100. Like it's just like a little prize money, a little motivation.
So it's basically like
you make your money back and then some. Yeah, and you get like social, like whatever.
Yeah, I ran the.
I won. My high school cross country coach actually won the Fox Days Marathon like 2 or 3 times. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my elementary school, high school teacher, Mr. Woodard. He freaked me out actually physically because he was one of those guys he was an older guy, but maybe like 50 or 60 or something. I thought he was old at the time anyway. But he's one of those guys who just has the veins bulging out of like everywhere on his body. He wasn't like super ripped, but he's like super lean. And like his neck and his arms just super veiny. And I don't know.
Did he run marathons?
Yeah, he was definitely he was a marathon runner. Yeah. He would talk about like he was the real deal as far as gym teachers go. It's kind of lame when you have a gym teacher who looks like they actually don't care about like fitness.
Yeah. Oh, I had those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just like, who are you to tell me to do this?
It's like whatever subject your teacher is, you want them to be like invested in it. You would hope anyway.
Yeah.
So this marathon, is there like banners or like how is it demarcated where you're supposed to run to, or do you just follow the people because you see people running in front of you?
Mostly the latter. I think there are like, whenever it would get confusing, I think they did have like arrows and like cones.
So if you're
for like certain
if you're
tournaments.
First, you're not gonna get lost.
No. Yeah.
Because everyone else is following you, and you're like, oh.
They're taking the wrong way. I've definitely done that before at like a cross country meet, like a high school cross country meet. Like in the start, like I've definitely taken a wrong turn, and then I'm like, oh, don't follow me. Actually.
Yeah, I've seen some like runners, like college or high school runners or whatever, just around, and there's like a pack of them running, and they pass by, and they're like out of sight. And then more are coming. And I'm like, okay, those guys are so far behind. How do they know where to go now? Like, how do they?
Yeah.
They can't see the guys in front of them. So how are they like staying in the right road and not?
Well, in high school, like we would all meet right, like outside the school, and then
discuss the route.
Yeah, like our coach would like tell us, okay, you're gonna go here, 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 and then he would always threaten, like if you go off the route, like I will find out. Like yes.
Yeah, I'd never did cross country in high school.
That's so fun.
I think my brother did. And I think actually my brother ran a marathon too.
Like, really?
Last year. I'm pretty sure he did. I want to say he did.
He should be a running buddy. You should ask him.
Well, he's usually not here.
Oh.
Actually, I'm going to dinner tonight with my family because he's leaving again. He just spent the past couple of months like doing stuff in Europe, and now like after this weekend he's going back to New York. Mm-hmm. Brad, he was on episode 20.
Okay.
We did not talk about marathon running. I don't know if that was before or after his marathon, but yeah, I want to do it.
You should. You definitely should. I can make you a plan. I think I can make you a good plan. If you tell me like what you want to start at and how long you want it to take, I could probably craft a good plan for you. And
now where I live, I have a treadmill. I have like a little workout room.
Oh, not the treadmill.
Well, okay, the treadmill's bad, but also it's like I don't want to run outside in the winter.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because my thing was, I actually used to be a lot more into running, not enough to run a marathon, but the past like 5 or 6 years, usually it would be like, especially during the summer, I would run like 4 days a week. Mm-hmm. At least for like 10, 15 minutes. Like I usually had a route of like 10 square blocks, not a whole lot, but it was enough to make me feel like, good about myself.
Yeah, yeah.
And it would really like get going in spring and then into summer, and then I'd always just stop running basically completely over the winter.
Yeah, when it gets cold.
Because I don't want to do that outside. I also don't want to get a gym membership. So
that's why the fall marathon is the best, because you start your training like in the spring and throughout the summer.
By that time you're prepared.
I would definitely recommend doing it like in September or October.
Yeah, marathon would be cool. Ultra marathon could be
miss
cool.
Me with that. I don't know if I'm ready.
Really?
I think a marathon's plenty for me, at least.
You don't want to add just another 14 miles on?
I don't know.
Or no.
I'd rather just run
24.
a lot of marathons and like get pretty good at it. I want to improve my time because I think I finished it in like 4 hours and 35 minutes. 4 hours and 45 minutes.
Do you, off the top of your head, know any like marathon stats? Like, do you know what average time it takes people that run marathons to complete?
I think it's around that, like 4 hours and 40, like 5 hours ish. I know that the fastest marathon just broke 2 hours recently. It was Elijah Kapishki. I don't know how to
2
pronounce
hours or just over?
It was under 2
Under 2
hours.
hours.
Yeah, it was like 1:58 something. But I have his watch, which is specifically the Koros is specifically designed for marathon training, and this is what he wore when he was training to try to break the record of 2 hours.
So by his watch, you just mean he also wore that watch?
He like sponsors it and designed it.
Oh, he designed it. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not like, oh my god, I would die if this was like his watch.
Well, I didn't think it was like physically. Like
yeah.
he used to wear that. And
yeah,
no. But I was wondering if like he participated.
I think the women's American marathon record was also just broken, but I don't know the number off the top of my head. But yeah, super cool. But the Koros is really neat if you're like super serious. I don't know if like how you feel about advertising on your podcast, but like
I mean, if it's a candid advertisement,
it'll like tell you like what it predicts you'll run your next marathon in. This can't be true. It's telling me that I'm gonna run it in 4 hours and 20 minutes, which is like a really big personal
20
record.
minutes faster.
Yeah, so maybe I can. But
I think you can.
And then it compares your last run to like your marathon time, and it'll tell you like if this is productive for your training or if you should be running faster or slower. It'll tell you like your recovery and like your total load for the week, and like if that's too much or too little, like based on your training. It'll tell you when you're like fully recovered for hard or easy training.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like it tracks when you're running. Does it auto track that? Like, does it just sense, oh, your pace is picked up, so you're running now? Or do you have to like turn on like I'm doing a run now?
Oh no, you have to do like I'm starting a run. But once you start the run, then everything's just automatic. Yeah, but it also tracks like your sleep and your steps and like whatever.
Does it track like your heart rate?
Yeah, but I don't really pay attention to that.
Oh, okay. I remember also in gym class, but in high school, did you have to wear heart rate monitors?
No.
You never did?
No.
Oh my goodness, we did.
It sounds fun.
No, they were the worst gym days.
Oh, okay.
Well, aside from swim days.
Yeah, I never had those either.
What?
Yeah. We didn't have a pool.
Oh, okay. I guess I went to privileged school where we had heart rate monitors and pools and iPads for every student.
What?
Well, that was just in the past like year or two of high school, like that started. But yeah, it was like every Friday or something like that. It was like heart rate monitor day where you put on the thing, strap it around your chest, and then you've got like your watch or whatever that you can see what your heart rate is. And basically it's like a free gym day where you just run or play basketball, whatever, but you have to like maintain heart rate higher than whatever for like a certain amount of minutes to get an A for that day. And I almost like never did it because I used to hate running, and I have a love-hate relationship with it now. I understand why people like it a lot, but also like most of the time I don't look forward to running.
Yeah.
It's always, usually during the run, it's easier than I am anticipating. After the run, I'm like, ugh. But before the run, I'm like, oh, I'm going to run. Although some days, there's every once in a while, like I come home, maybe like from work or wherever I am, and I have it in my head as I'm driving, I'm like, I'm going to go for a run. And I'm excited to do it, but not most days.
Not most days. Yeah. I just associate it with so many good memories, like just because I've done like cross country and track like for most of my life, and I associate that with a lot of like friendships and like positive relationships with my sister as well. And it's like kind of like a big stress reliever for me. And it was kind of like my pathway out of like a bad time, like a bad eating disorder time and mental health time. So I associate it with a lot of good positives. Yeah.
Well, that's good. No, I mean like for the people who like do get like addicted to like fitness or to like running, I mean that's probably the best addiction you can have, unless it kills you, I guess, by overworking yourself.
You always got to find a balance.
Yeah.
So I haven't ran at all since the marathon, and that was in September.
And your watch still thinks you can beat your record?
I know, right? Well, actually, this is a lie. I have ran like a handful of times, but I've mostly been like doing like lifting and stuff. So maybe that's why it thinks that I'm getting better. I don't know.
Does it track lifting?
It does. Yeah, you can.
How does it do that?
So it's just like another setting. You can do lifting, you can do swimming, you can do biking, you can do yoga. But like I can even like track like my sets and my reps and like.
Do you have to like put in the weight that you're doing, or like does it somehow sense that by your like arm movements?
You can do it like retroactively, but like when I lift, I tell it like, oh, I'm doing arms, oh, I'm doing legs, I'm doing like this, that, the other thing, and then I could just go like rest, set, and it'll like track my heart rate and like my calories or like whatever. But then retroactively, you can go in and actually plug in like what movement you did for like what set, and like get really technical and specific with it if you want to.
Does this add a lot of tedium into working out?
I don't do that latter part that I just mentioned. I just track it.
Well, still, like you're doing like a set of some exercise, then you have to take a break to enter into your watch, and then do another like.
Well, I just press like start and stop.
You don't have to do but you said you have to do different.
Yeah, it takes a second. I just go like switching to arms now. Okay. Start, stop. Yeah. And it's like, it's like a habit. You can like, I don't know. I got used to like. Yeah.
It becomes part of the routine.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
The gym at Milwaukee's not good.
At UWM?
Yeah,
Milwaukee?
It's terrible.
I still have not been in it. I don't even know where
you should go and check it out. It's kind of, it's on Downer Avenue.
What makes it not good?
So small. Like, it's a huge facility, and then like you're like, oh, I'm walking through this giant facility, I'm trying to find the weight room, and the weight room is just tiny. And then like every single student at the school wants to be working out at the exact same time, so you're just like all on top of each other, and everybody's sneezing and coughing. And it's just like terrible experience. I don't like going, so that's also why I haven't been like doing anything working out wise.
Do they have more than a weight room? Like
no,
track at least?
They do have a track and like a big basketball court, which is nice. But like that's really all that students can access.
No pool?
No, well, I think there's a pool too. I haven't tried to go to the pool. But it's like you'd think with how many students go here, like they would have 2 weight rooms. I transferred from Carroll, which is a school that is like tiny, and they had 3 gyms.
3 gyms?
Yeah. Wow. 3 different weight rooms.
I mean, Carroll is like a
private school.
bougie school.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
More expensive tuition than UWM.
Yeah, so that is a factor. But I was very upset with the lackluster gym here. But
well, I mean, do you use that, or do you have a gym that you go to?
I do use it, but not very often. And if I had a different gym, I would definitely go more often. But I don't want to pay for it. So that's, yeah.
I mean, I'm a little bit conflicted on gyms because on the one hand, it's like if you are paying for it, that's probably a motivator to actually use it.
Yeah.
I would think, anyway. You don't want to be wasting your money. It's like, oh, I'm paying $20 a month for this gym, so I better like get the most out of it that I can in that month. So I want to go every day. And also, I usually do, not usually, I've also been slacking on a lot of things this year, reading, making podcasts, running. But one of the things I've been slacking on is like doing exercises at home, but in a normal time when I'm not slacking. I do like an exercise routine. It's like calisthenics and stuff, just like in my living room.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great and all, but I feel like it's easier and gets you more in the mindset, and like you can make it more of like a ritual if you have a specific location that is dedicated to that activity.
Yeah, it's not like where you rest and like
it's not right next to your couch.
Yes,
you kind of want to sit on the couch.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that room is for other things. Like it's nice if you, for a gym, to like, oh, this is like just a track. That's all it's for. Like this is a weight room. Like that's all it's for. So that's like the thing that you're gonna be doing in that room is actually lift weights.
Yeah.
So I feel like it makes it more like clear and like easier to focus on just doing that productive activity if you have a space dedicated to it.
And I feel like that for everything, like even studying. Like I hate studying in my room or even my house.
Easier
like
to go to the library and
you'll
get more done probably.
I need like alternate locations for each of the things I do because it's like a psychology thing.
Yeah,
it's like a little bit of a psychology hack.
Yeah, it helps to have a different environment, different smells, different place.
Yeah.
Different routine for every set of activities in order to get them done most efficiently. But then on the other hand, it's like, for gym anyway, you're paying money, you could be saving, you could be more frugal by just working out in your living room. And that's a big motivator for things I do.
Yeah.
Saving money.
Yeah.
And also it's like, one thing that I don't like is how much time it takes out of your day, because you could just work out in your living room and there's literally no transportation time. Go to the gym, maybe it's 10, 15, 20 minutes of there and back.
Yeah.
That you have to spend just like and then you do that on top of whatever else you're doing in a day. It's like all these things add up, and before you know it, you've lost an hour, maybe even like an hour and a half, 2 hours of just like intermediate in between time and all the things you're doing, like going to work, going to school, going to the gym, going to wherever. It's like that's so much time getting eaten up of just traveling.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think like campuses like reflecting like walkability and like being able to get places with as little time as possible and being able to walk to places like demonstrates how much that is important. Like having, you know, transportation time is just generally bad for people, like mental health wise, like it eats up your time wise, and like having things closer to you and having things walkable to you is like way more beneficial than we realize.
Yeah. Although, I guess, okay, here's a maybe counter to what I just said and to what you just said slightly. Maybe not so much versus walking, but versus having things be very close by. If you do have somewhat of a distance, somewhat of a travel time in your day, I mean, I guess that can give you downtime to be like by yourself or to not be on TikTok.
This
or
is
like,
true.
you know, if you're in the car, maybe that's just your time to think, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of
or
people
like listen to music.
Right. You could fill that time with listening to a podcast or music, which I do like half the time. Or that can just be your alone time, your thought time. Like, that could be beneficial to have. Where if you like live close by everything, then maybe it feels better in some ways because there's more efficiency, less time, quote unquote, wasted. But maybe sometimes that wasted time is actually beneficial because it's like,
yeah,
kind of need that decompression time.
Yeah. Well, I think that can be like received in like a walkable
right.
sense,
If
like just
you
walking to your location.
Yeah. If you walk and that's going to take you the same amount of time in another scenario as it would to drive, then those both can be your thought time or whatever.
Yeah.
Although, much easier to be on your phone while walking.
Yeah, true.
Than while driving.
And I see everyone doing it, like looking at their phones while they're walking, and I'm like, guys, you're missing out on fall. Right. It's so short.
You're getting that mild amount of exercise from the walk, but are you sacrificing other things because it's just more time being consumed by Instagram?
Do you have any other questions about marathon training?
I did have one other thing I wanted to say about running, but at this, I literally, it was in my head and I just forgot it. But no, I don't think I have any other thoughts on running. Do you?
I think everybody should do it.
Yeah, it's definitely, I should do it more. People in general should do it more.
It's probably like one of the cheaper forms of exercise.
Oh, that's a good point, actually.
Because all you need are shoes and a body. Which
you
everybody probably
wants. Unless you're really a nude runner.
Yeah, I suppose that would be slightly difficult.
And, I mean, depending on where you live, sometimes if you want to run consistently, you might need a gym because nobody wants to run in
I like running in the cold in the winter outside.
Although, is it something that people should do? You know?
Like for the health?
For their health, yeah. Because on the one hand, yeah, you're running. On the other hand, though, it's like you're exposing your body to the cold, more likely to get sick. Yeah. And also, when it's wintertime, when there's like snow on the ground, more likely to slip and fall.
Yeah.
Are these just minor things? Like, is it still worthwhile to run in the winter?
I think it's still worthwhile to run in the winter. I really like it. I did it all throughout high school, like to train for track. And like, yeah, every once in a while I'd run the treadmill because it's just too cold or like negative wind chills. But when it's like doable, like it's not like blizzarding or like -10, I think it's still pretty fun. Like it's kind of like the contrast of like the cold and then like warm, like of like exercising. I don't know. I just really like that feeling.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. Like you start your run and you're really cold and uncomfortable, and then midway through your run, you're like, you've heated yourself up now.
And it's also made me appreciate winter. I think everybody, especially in Wisconsin, which is weird, everybody has like this vitriolic hatred towards winter, and I don't really mind it. Like I don't really mind it, and I think it's just because I've like spent so much time outside, like in the winter, running like for an hour a day, like for years of my life.
It's kind of a sad thing. Like winter used to be a great time as a kid.
Yeah.
And then like turning into adult, going into your adulthood even more, it's like more and more, it's like you kind of hate winter. It's like because you're not doing the fun winter stuff.
Sledding.
You're not sledding. You're not like building snowmen. You're not just like going outside all in your puffy suit and playing out in the snow, building an igloo or whatever. You're just like you have to drive through snow.
Yeah, everybody associates
you have to shovel.
it with
That's
like
annoying. You have to,
scraping your car.
It's just cold.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I hate winter is because, well, I don't hate it, but I dislike it, is because like every year I have winter car problems. Like my car does not start. And then it's like, I gotta go get a new battery, or I gotta Yeah. Last year, I had to get my car towed in the winter, which cost like $200.
Well, that's cheaper than a lot of people I know who get their cars towed.
Yeah, it was a cheap towing service. That's true. But yeah. And then I had to like get new tires. I had to get 2 new tires. Yeah.
Sounds like the car's the problem.
Yeah, it is. It is a bad car. That's true.
No, I think that's really sad. Like things that used to be like very whimsical and like fun as a kid, like
Yeah.
as you become older, like they have a totally new meaning.
Yeah, time for fun gets drowned out and responsibility comes in, and it's just, yeah, snow means shoveling, snow means worse commute.
Yeah. Well, we should make a point this winter to engage in some sledding and snowman building. Yeah. I think that could be kind of healing.
Yeah, that'd be good. Last year, I made a point during the winter to go snowboarding, which is cool.
Oh, that's fun.
I hadn't done that for I'm not bad, but I'm not good. I hadn't done that for like 8 years, but I still managed to do the Black Diamonds.
So you are good.
I mean, not like good.
But if you don't fall,
I still fell a little.
Okay,
a little bit.
Okay,
fell a little bit. I did one box, but I didn't do any rails. Do you ever go snowboarding at all?
No, I've never.
Oh, okay, well, box is it's like grinding on a rail, except it's wide.
Okay.
So it doesn't actually take any balance or anything like that. It just takes, you go off a jump usually, or you just up a ramp onto a little like metal box or something, slide off of it, and you feel cool about yourself. Yeah.
I'd try it. I'd probably fall. Like I'd probably be bad, but I heard it's an expensive hobby.
It is. Yeah. Unlike running, running has definitely got that clear advantage that you mentioned of you don't need any special service, just go outside. But yeah, snowboarding, buying a snowboard and any snowboard gear that you might want, like boots or goggles and everything like that. Snowboard alone, I somehow managed to convince my mom to buy me one like when I was 14 or 15, and I want to say it was $900.
Oh.
That might not be right, but that's what my memory is telling me. Either way, they're at least hundreds.
Yeah.
Like if you buy a skateboard, that's like $100, maybe $150 for a good one. I think snowboards are more expensive than skateboards. They're bigger. And I don't know.
I feel like they have to be more durable too. Like
maybe, I don't know. But yeah, that's expensive. And then you gotta go to the place, which are usually far away from where anybody lives. Alpine Valley, which is one in somewhere in Wisconsin. What's it called? It's Troy, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. That costs like, I don't know, $80, $90 or something for like a day pass. Something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe 60. I don't actually remember. But anyway, you could buy a whole lot of other things for that money. And then if you want to rent gear, that's definitely cheaper than $900. But then every time you go, you got to pay like an extra $30 on top of your ticket.
At some point, it's like almost an investment to just like buy the gear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that people should like not do hobbies that they love just because they're expensive. Like I feel like that's like a cop out to just be like, oh, I'm not gonna pursue like things that I wish that I did because of like this reason or that reason.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. But I also think like you should factor that in at least somewhat, maybe.
Yeah.
Because like there are hobbies that cost money, and then there are hobbies that continually cost money. You could be a skateboarder, and you just have to buy a skateboard.
Yeah.
No other payments needed. To be a snowboarder, you always have to be paying, unless you're gonna. Well, even if you buy a season pass,
that's
a yearly,
change,
a yearly payment that you got to do. And then it's like, if you don't actually have the money, you might enjoy life more by spending that money that you don't really have to do your hobbies, but at the same time, you're kind of kicking yourself, or like you're hindering yourself in the long term by not saving up any money and just perpetually being poor. So, to some degree, you gotta let your finances get in the way of your interest, your passions.
Which is kind of a sad reality.
Yeah, money. You always got to think about money, and it's holding you back from everything. It's like you don't want to spend your time working. You want to spend your time doing something else, but you need to work because you need the money. That's the eternal struggle.
Yeah.
But you mentioned once or twice now eating disorder and how running helped you out of that.
Yeah.
Was running the main thing that helped you out of that?
I think so. It was a long time ago, so it's kind of become a little muddled. But I think it was actually more theater, like, during it, because I remember I have this, like, vivid memory of, like, being told like right after I auditioned for the school play, and I found out that I got the lead part of Simba, and I was like, oh, so excited, blah, blah, blah. And then you have to go to a doctor's appointment right after. And I found
you had to?
I had to.
Okay.
Sorry.
Like, since you got Simba, go to the doctor.
No. Sorry, that was a weird wording. I did have to go to a doctor's appointment like directly after that same day, okay. And I remember them being like, "Yeah, girl, it's been too long. Like, we have to hospitalize you." And I was like, "No, like, please, like, I really need to be Simba. I really want to be Simba. Like, this means a lot to me. Like, I promise I'll get better after this." And I did because I really wanted to be Simba. So that was actually like. A lot of times people like don't really know like what was like the catalyst for like the change, but I can always like pinpoint that like direct memory as
always?
Like when I don't know why it took me a while to say it, but like that is like definitely like the thing that was like the turning point was like Simba.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, you said it's been too long. What does that mean? Like the doctor said it's been too long, we got to take you in. Like your eating disorder had gone unchecked for too long, or like
it was more just like an extended period of not making any progress, like not getting any better, because I was given like multiple, I don't want to say chances, but like my like doctors and parents like kept saying like if you don't like start to show some sort of improvement, like we're not just gonna like let you keep doing that. Like I was very young, you know, I was like in like 8th grade, so it's like
anorexia, was it?
Yes, yeah. So
do you know how that started? Can you pinpoint that one? Or
see, this is the thing is this is actually probably backed by studies, but I think a lot of it is like genetic predisposition to these sorts of things. So I don't know if I can exactly pinpoint like a cause or like a reason or anything.
Can you pinpoint a moment or a time period where you went from not having any particular obsessions about food to then having them?
I think it was probably, so I've been like super into sports and running for like my whole life. I tried like pretty much every sport that I could until I decided that I liked running the most. But I broke my arm in like 5th or 6th grade.
Which arm?
My right arm.
Is it noticeable now, or is it
I don't think
the
so.
same exact?
I think it looks all right. I broke it right here, so it was a while ago though. So I just remember like not being able to like work out or like exercise.
Wait, how old were you when you broke your arm?
I was in 6th grade.
And you were working out?
Well, like I was in sports, so like I remember. That's a little messed up, I guess. But like, I was in softball and I was like trying out for like it wasn't like school softball; it was like club softball. Wow. So I was like super into it, and like my parents paid a lot of money for us to be, my sister and I, to be in like club sports. And so I already like had like a big expectation from like people outside of me and like in like intrinsically to like be good at sports and like be an athlete or whatever. So like when that was kind of like taken away for an extended period of time, like that was what I derived like my self-worth from almost like as a kid. So when I wasn't able to do that, I was like in like a panic mode. Like I was just like, what am I going to do? And I think that was definitely like the start of a sort of like obsession with like working out and eating, but I don't know if I could like pinpoint anything else as a direct cause. I think that participating in really individualistic sports like running and like dancing and ice skating, I've heard like make you more susceptible to like these kinds of disorders because like you're so like individualistic, like worried about like your performance rather than like a team performance.
Yeah. Ice skating and being a ballerina seem very
detrimental,
common to leading to anorexia.
But it's really common in long distance runners too, which is something that I've like recently read about, which I found relatable.
That's kind of interesting to me because I always kind of thought a lot of the reason why ballet, for example, is so horrible is because of like the culture and especially the fact that you're like the instructor and the classroom environment of like you're expected to be, you know, the perfect shape and like the best girl, the skinniest girl there and all that. Where like I feel like that wouldn't play in as much in long distance running because that seems more individual rather than the like peer. Because like ballet, not necessarily a team sport, but it is like still that environment of like your peers are judging you.
Yeah.
Whereas long distance running, to me anyway, maybe I don't know enough about it, but it seems like less that, more just self-reliance rather than
I think that
worrying about what your peers think.
I think that ballet and like ice skating and that is definitely more like appearance heavy, which like plays a role into it. But I think pretty sure like what I read was it's just like the mere fact that it's an individual performance-based sport like makes you more susceptible to that kind of thought pattern of like, I failed at this, like therefore I need, you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's like, yeah.
Like what, the camaraderie of a team sport, of other people like helping you out and cheering you on when that's lacking, like
I think that like the failures
spirals,
and the losses, like when you're on a team, can never be like directly placed on you,
spread out,
versus like if you do bad in a race, you have nobody else to blame except for yourself.
Well, I mean, I used to play team sports, not like club, but just like through school or whatever, or through like Parks and Rec or whatever it is. You can definitely be the one who lost the game.
Yeah, I suppose, but it's like not continual. Like, do you lose the game every single time?
I mean, it's depending on who you are, maybe. You might be the one on the basketball team who it's always your fault because you're clearly the worst player on the team. And
that might do a number on. Oh, really?
Well, I wasn't. I remember my parents, like, I had been playing basketball for like 2 or 3 years, and my parents congratulated me like it was the last game of the season, and they're like, they were so proud because I got an assist. I didn't even get a goal. I got an assist. I passed someone the ball who then scored.
That's good.
A goal, rather than,
you should commend yourself.
So it's like I had never done that before. Goes to show how bad I was, that for like 3 years I couldn't even achieve an assist.
Oh. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that association is, but I also think that like with running, there's like a misconception that like the lighter you are, the faster you'll be, like in some sort of capacity, which is like not true in like any sense of like actual like nutritional and like science, and like people who like your coaches would not tell you this, but like I think there's a sort of like a perception of that fact, especially in like middle and high school.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like I guess I wouldn't think it's good to be skinny and be a runner, but there is that runner's body. Like people who are runners, like they're not like unhealthy looking skinny, but they're always like super like lean,
lanky almost.
Lanky, and like they don't have any body fat.
Yeah.
Like they might have muscle, but they have like 2% body fat.
People used to like comment on that, like more to Ashley than to me, like because she's just like very much naturally like that way. That's my sister. I don't know if I've name dropped her yet in the podcast. Okay, sorry, I apologize. But so she was also like a better runner than me, like at least in the beginning, like because she was older than me. So like I very much like looked up to that, and like people would always comment like, oh, she's like got that runner's body, like blah blah blah. So that definitely like contributed to it. So then when people like did say that about me too, I was like, oh my gosh, like what I'm doing is working, like I need to keep this up, you know, like. So there's definitely like external pressures like beyond the running thing, like from family and like comments and perceptions of other people that contributed to this. Yeah. But then as it like unfolded, it became nothing about that.
Yeah. Actually, I think more than doing a marathon, well, I would like to do that at some point in my life. There are several tracks throughout the world that I'd really like to run. And they're not necessarily running tracks. They're more just like treks, you know? Like you might walk it and it'll take a few days, or you run it and it'll take 1 day or whatever.
What are they?
Well, one of them is a famous one in the southern island of New Zealand, kind of right by Wellington, I think. It's called the Routeburn track. And it's like a 3-day thing, and normally it's like in these like bluffs, kind of like overlooking the ocean, like these grassy cliffs and whatnot, that people usually like get in groups and they run, and then they like camp the night, and then they go the next day and they camp the night, and then that's the vibe. That's
so fun. That's super cool.
Yeah. There's another one still in the southern island of New Zealand, but in the northern part it connects the towns Picton and Nelson. And I was going to do it, but then I backed down from it the reason I backed down was because, for one thing, it wasn't in my plan. I was like, I learned of it when I was there. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Should I do it? So I would have had to cancel a hostel that I was going to the future days, but also because it's like a hike / run, but it also involves water. Like you have to
swim.
It's kind of like swimming, but it's like you like wade through
okay,
rivers and stuff like that. So it's like you're gonna get wet, and I was like, I don't think I don't have the gear for that. Like I can't afford to get like all my stuff in my backpack just soaked.
Yeah. But you could like hold it above your head.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
You should have done it.
Should have done it. But and then there's also the Narrows in what is that, Utah, I think.
I've heard of those.
It's in Zion National Park. Well, that one is more just like a hike that people do, but it's long, so things like that. I have a list of them. I don't remember the rest.
Yeah. No, I think that's like a good like hiking is a good alternative to running. Like I think more doable, more accessible to more people.
Yeah. I've done more hikes than I've done like actually long distance runs. I haven't done really any except for actually, so I mentioned before that I did that France thing. When I was there, this family I was staying with was like really cool, and one of the things they like to do is go on runs. That was one of the periods where it was like a summer where I was actually running like 4 days a week. So in my like email communications with them before I visited them, I was telling them that I like to run, so that they like prepared for that. They're like, oh, he likes to run, and I think they were more into running than I was. So like every so often, every couple of days a week, they would want to go on a run with me.
That's so cute.
And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do like a 10-mile run or whatever it's gonna be. And but then I found that like I actually could do it. It's like running by yourself or by myself. It's easier to stop than like if you're running with like other people. For some reason, something about that, like you can just keep going.
That's why I love running with other people. Like, and that's why I needed to do a marathon with a buddy. I was like, if I'm gonna make it, like I at least need to have a buddy for the first half.
Yeah.
Or it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, it was just like I hadn't actually ever really ran with someone before, and just like running with two people right next to me, and where I would have like taken a break to walk or like just stopped completely, it's just kept going.
Yeah, that's a hack.
Recommended highly. But yeah, back to eating disorders.
Oh God.
I don't remember what the stat is. We covered it in like class last semester on
in a psych class.
Yeah, psych class. Okay. Yeah, it was abnormal psychology, and we covered eating disorders for like 1 or 2 class periods or something.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear like what they say about them in classes like that and how it's like perceived by someone who hasn't experienced it.
Oh, okay. I mean, I could tell you because I wrote down all the notes, but I don't have that notebook right now. But
okay.
In principle, in future time, I could tell you exactly what the lesson was. But one of the things I remember is the death rates, like the...
Oh, yeah, they're like crazy high.
Yeah, for anorexia, they're like higher than...
It's like 1 in 5,
than
I think,
most
is what I've
mental
heard.
illnesses.
Yeah.
It's like even some of the crazier mental illnesses that you might think result in like suicides. It's like, anorexia kills more people.
Yeah.
And it's not always like through suicide, though it often is. Because, if you have really severe anorexia, you kind of hate yourself to a large degree.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also through, literally just like, starvation, improper nutrition. So then you like maybe go into a coma because your body can't sustain itself, die that way. Or like you're too frail, so you're more prone to accidental injury. Or like that kind of thing.
Poor immune system.
You get sick. Yeah, that definitely happens a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like all around, just plenty of ways to die if you have anorexia, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah. So like, what? I don't know how much you want to talk about it, how much detail, but like, what did your anorexia when it was at its height look like?
And it's really sad because I was really young. Like I was probably 13 when it was at its like absolute worst. And so we had TLC instead of homeroom, but it's essentially homeroom. My TLC teacher was a gym teacher. So she would like have us like exercise like for homeroom. And she had a scale like in her office, like that was in our like classroom. So that's when I got like super, because my mom never had scales like around, like that was just not like her thing. And I always thought that my mom was like pretty good at like teaching like my sister and I like how to like have a good relationship with food and like our bodies and stuff. So my parents were like super surprised at like how this transpired and developed. But I just would remember like always like popping into like my homeroom class like to weigh myself like multiple like times a day, like as a 13-year-old. It's really sad. It wasn't that I wouldn't eat. Like, a lot of people have this misconception that, like, oh, people with anorexia, like, don't eat anything. What I would do is I would eat, like, a quarter cup of oats, and I would cook them with water, and a quarter cup of oats is 25 calories. And I'd cook them with water, and I would have raspberries on top, and that's what I would have for breakfast. And then for lunch, I would take a Ziploc bag of Cheerios to school, and I would snack on them throughout the day. And I would get, like, fizzy, 0-calorie, like, sparkling waters. And then I would eat dinner. Like, my mom would make dinner for the family or whatever.
And you just eat whatever she made?
I would, like, kind of, like, push it around and, like, eat a very tiny bit. Okay. But, like, I would count it. But I would still, like, eat it because I didn't want to get, like, found out or discovered. Right. You know, like, it was a very sneaky ordeal. Like, I was, like, keeping this up for, like, a very long time without getting, like, discovered by anyone. Like, because, like, when I was under the eyes of, like, parents and superiors, like teachers, I like would try to like not make it very apparent and obvious. So that's why I was able to like get away with it for so long. And it was more of like a calorie counting game. Like, it was never like a, oh, I'm gonna like not eat for like this long or like starve myself for this long. Like, it was very meticulously calculated.
Yeah. You know, I think that aligns with the lesson in my psychology class we were taught about anorexia. It's not about, you know, not eating. It's obsession with food.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like you're preoccupied with how much you're eating and like the if it's more like orthorexia too, like the nutritional value of what you're eating. And also there's one thing that is like anorexic people have a tendency, more than others anyway, to like really be into cooking or like the idea of cooking or like collecting like cookbooks because or like cooking for others. And
I used to bake
not
like,
eating
for my whole
for themselves
family.
as much anyway. It's like, because they like, I don't know, what do you like really want to be eating? And you just like, I don't know, feel like that you can't. So it's like trying to experience it vicariously or something.
I don't know if it's even that. Like, I just was like, I would always bake for my family and then I would just like be like, eats. Like, I want to see other people eat. Like, just because like, I wanted like them to eat and not me, so then like I'm like better than them. Oh. Like, in some sort of sense.
Okay, so this is something I always wondered. Have you ever not wondered about you, but wondered about people in general? Mm-hmm. Have you ever watched like mukbangs?
Yes. Yeah, I used to watch them like all the time.
Is that like the value of a mukbang, like what you just said?
Yeah, kind of. Like, it'd be like, oh, look at them, like they're eating like this giant bowl of noodles. Like, I would never do that. Like, yeah. I have so much more self-control than them. Like, it is like a way to like feel accomplished and like better about yourself. Right. And like watching like what I eat in a days, or like, have you heard of the 10,000 calorie challenge?
No.
That was a YouTube trend for a while.
10,000 calories in a day?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The challenge is what, to just eat that?
Eat that. So I used to love those videos. Like, I would just watch them over and over and over again, like different ones of people doing that.
Wow.
And I would plan it out. Like, I'd be like, if I was going to do it, like, this is what I would eat.
See, that's what I mean. Like the preoccupation with food.
Yeah. And if you would look at, like, my notebooks from, like, middle school, it was just filled with, like, little math problems, like 100 plus 25 plus 105. Because I would be, like, planning out, like, if I ate this, this is how much it would be. If I ate this is how much it would be. Like,
did you have a, like, caloric goal? That you
as little as possible.
But do you remember a number? Like, or did you have a number at the time? Like, I'm going to only eat 700 calories in a day and that's it?
Not really. Like, I never like had that. Like, it was always just like a range or like a ballpark. Like, it's like if I started to get over like 1,000 a day, I would be like, what's going on? But like
yeah. And then, so you said you were checking the scale like multiple times a day. Did you have a goal weight that you were trying to get to, or like trying to not get above?
No.
Oh, okay.
I just needed to know like what it was.
Like, why check it so much though? It's like, did you eat something and then want to see how much that affected your weight, or like
it was almost like,
was there an actual expectation that it would change between classes?
No, it was almost just like a satisfaction.
Okay, a reassurance.
Like, I don't want to like number drop. That's probably like super triggering for like people. I don't know, like whatever.
I mean, also you're 13, and also
nobody
knows your
like,
height. So
okay,
it's
this is valid. Okay, so I remember being like 70 pounds.
Yeah,
and I was like, I would always just be like, and I would like be like, oh, like when like my friends in homeroom, like I would like want them to like wear this. Like, it was so toxic. It was so bad. But it's like it wasn't even like I'm like looking at my weight and I'm like, this is bad. Like, I would be looking at my weight and I would be like, yes, okay, like this is like what I wanted to happen. Yeah. Like, and I just like needed to keep seeing it. Like,
Yeah. Okay. It was like reassurance.
Not even that. It was like pride. Like,
okay.
I was like, yes, this is good. Like, yeah, it was really sick.
Yeah. Because, like, I mean, 70 pounds sounds small, but, like, yeah, without having much of an idea of, like, height and all that, it's kind of hard to know if 70 pounds is horribly underweight or not.
Yeah. Well, I think I did get lower than that when they wanted to hospitalize me, like, at some point, but I don't, like, even remember.
So they wanted to hospitalize you. Did they actually ever hospitalize you?
No.
How did you avoid that?
Simba, I begged. I was like,
begging. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I need to be Simba. Like, this will help me get better. Like,
and I mean, it did.
It did. Yeah,
So,
I was
wow.
right. Like, I'm really glad that it did. But
so, like, okay, so after the Simba moment where you like saw that you're gonna be Simba, did you have a drastic change in your attitude towards food, or like how long did it take to like get back to a healthy mental state?
So it was like I went through. This was about the same time, not the same time, probably a little bit before. I went vegan my freshman year of high school, and I started like actually getting better from this like spring of 8th grade. So like I don't think that I was ever like fully recovered, and it's also like a lifelong process, whatever.
Right.
I'd like to think that I'm in a place where I can call myself recovered now, but it probably wasn't true until like my junior year of high school. Like I went through a long period of like still counting calories, like still like feeling bad about myself, and I think that a large portion of like the weirdness, like not really actually recovering right then and there, was a combination of like not going to therapy at all for this, like really that much at all.
Why was that though?
I did for a little bit, like when I was really, really bad. But like it was something with like my parents' insurance not covering it, and like I didn't like the lady, like I was like mean to her, like I was like would, like yeah, it was like terrible. So like they also like didn't want me to keep coming because they were like, she's like non-compliant, and then like my parents also were like very busy, and like they, as soon as I started to show like a little bit of a sign of getting better, they're like, okay, she's better now, like hands off, like we're not even gonna pay attention anymore.
Yeah.
So like as soon as I was like not dying and I looked like I was happy like doing this play, which I was, they were just like totally like, oh, thank God she's better now. So
Simba fixed all her problems.
yeah, seriously.
Okay, this is one thing that so you know, since I know several vegans and since I know several vegan females, it seems to me that a large percentage of them have a history of eating disorder.
Yeah, and that really taints it. Like I really don't super like to bring it up because of that. Like I don't want people to think bad of veganism, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, my question is like, how much of an interaction do you think there is, and do you think there's like a causal, or at least do you think there's a legitimate correlation there too, like between eating disorders such as anorexia or orthorexia and veganism? Like why?
Yeah. So after like I started getting better, like not dying, etc., I was still like obsessed with food, like in that sort of mental state. So that's how I did get into that YouTube hole that eventually led me to veganism. So I think like algorithmically, like certain like things that you're like looking at on the internet could like be correlated between like eating disorder content to vegan content. That's definitely like how I stumbled upon it.
But why would those be connected, I guess? My thoughts maybe it's like if you are dealing with anorexia, you have this preoccupation towards food and like these rules that you set for yourself kind of that you want to follow, and like very like stringent, orderly personality type, at least when it comes to food. And maybe that's unhealthy, and everyone, you know, in some level, when you have anorexia, do you really want to not have it anymore? Do you think it's a problem, or do you not at all think it's a problem?
I thought it was a problem, but I liked it.
Okay.
Like, so I've kind of mentioned to you before, like it almost felt like I was high.
Okay. So it is like a balance there of like you think it's a problem, but you also want to maintain that problem.
Yes, yeah.
So then I'm thinking maybe veganism for a lot of people with eating disorders is a way to keep that sort of like preoccupation with food, restricted diet, rules-based, like, I don't know, orderly mentality about this food, but try to like channel it into a more positive direction.
Yeah.
Or something that like they can still have those restrictions for themselves, but now it's not like harming their health like anorexia is.
Yeah. I do think that like there's definitely merit to that, and it probably to a certain extent, like when I first went vegan, like my like still mentally ill like 15-year-old mind may have wanted to, like because of that reason. But I also think that it's helped me reach like a great conclusion that food is so cool. Yeah. Like now I love food so much and I love cooking so much, and I think that like being vegan helped me like really appreciate my food and like appreciate like what it does for me, what it does for like the earth in like a new context that was not like shameful. So maybe there is a sort of like a disordered piece to it at the beginning, but I think that overall it was helpful for me, like my mentality surrounding it.
Yeah. I have more things that I could ask you about the eating disorders and about veganism as well. And then there's all these other topics that we didn't get to. Like, well, maybe we can save our second half of our topic list for a future conversation, because I booked this studio until 5.
Are there people 5. Who are waiting?
I don't think there's people who are waiting. I just think
they're gonna yell at us.
They'll yell at me if I return the key too late.
Okay.
I mean, and we've probably already been talking for like 2.5 hours or something like that.
Yeah. Well, maybe just a couple more questions and we can save my original theory on consciousness.
Yeah, you had a theory on consciousness that you wrote down. That sounded really interesting to me. I want to talk about astrology, and of course, that's a topic I like to talk about as well.
Dude, people have been hating me for my astrology is dumb. Like, I've like made a lot of enemies.
Wow. I mean, maybe those are enemies worth making.
No, they're people I want to be friends with until I mention this, and then they're like, like, we don't like you anymore.
Does that make you not want to be friends with them anymore if they take it so seriously that they like?
It makes me want to laugh at them. Ugh, yeah.
Like, I don't know. Is it one of those scenarios where it's like, oh, you think someone's cool, and then you realize that, I don't know, something about their personality, they can't like you. So then the fact that they don't like you makes you not like them. Like it goes both ways.
Yeah,
almost.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's just because they're an Aries. Why? Like,
oh yeah, totally. I know about that.
Okay, you said you had another question.
Well, no, I mean, I said I have more things that I could talk about, but I'm not going to.
Oh, okay. We're ending.
Yeah. Well, before we end though, maybe do you want to end on the normal ending of? Do you have any recommendations? Or parting thoughts for the audience, recommendations of
parting thoughts.
For instance, books you like, or TV, movies, anything that you think the audience could go and do that they might benefit from. Mine was watch The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Good movie.
That sounds like a good movie. Okay, I'll do a movie. I do think that everybody should run. I think it's super great and awesome for your physical and mental health. So that is one recommendation. I will also recommend a movie. Have you seen The Florida Project?
No, but you might have mentioned it. Somebody mentioned it.
It's super good. It is a story about a group of 5-year-old friends who live they're like lower income families in Florida, and they live in a motel. But it's like told from the perspective. Well, it's like filmed from the perspective of these 5-year-olds. So it's just like very pure and beautiful like perspectives of poverty. Like they don't know that they're in poverty. Yeah. Like they don't know like what they're experiencing. And I think it's just like a very beautiful cinematically, and it really speaks to like the perspective of children, which is super good. I think it is on Amazon for rent. It's not on Netflix.
I don't do the Amazon, but I could like pirate it probably.
Yeah, you probably could pirate it. Yeah. 123movies.com.
Yeah, that's actually one thing that I have thought about several times as an adult, of realizing all these ways that I was a lot poorer than I ever thought I was as a kid.
Yeah, you never realized it. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Childhood is just cool, but it's like didn't have all these other things that, I mean, my family, I guess, got to a point in time where we could go to a high school that has a pool. So
yeah, so maybe you can't get it.
But in my early childhood especially, like, felt pretty poor, at least in hindsight. Well, maybe I'll watch The Florida Project.
You should. I'll watch Secret Life of Walter Mitty or Mindy?
Mitty. Mitty. M-I-T-T-Y.
With 2 T's and a Y.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being on this episode.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
See you next time.